5 of the FIM Motocross World Championship. The MXGP of Portugal kicked off with the MX2 qualifying race on Saturday. Jorge Prado into an early lead on his Red Bull KTM, closely followed by the number 10 of Calvin Bellandra, and up the inside was the 64 of Covington, the number 1 of Jonas, and also the 70 of Ruben Fernandez. His two teammates of Jed Beaton and Adam Sterry were right there with him as well. Not a bad start for Alvin Osland either on the Yamaha, but Thomas Covington would fall from a top 5 position on the opening laps. He would remount in 27th and work his way back to 13th as Jonas got himself into second with that pass on Bellandra early on. He then went after his teammate Jorge Prado, number 61. In 4th position, just behind these two, was the fast-starting number 70 of Ruben Fernandez. He was on the F&H Kawasaki as Bellandra continued to dog the 1 of Jonas. Jonas did eventually hang on to that position despite the hard riding of Bellandra. Watch here, out of the race in spectacular fashion was this number 70 of Ruben Fernandez. He picked himself up but would eventually fall again and be classified as 31st. Jonas fell out of 2nd on lap 5. That allowed Bellandra to go through. Jonas remounted in 5th place. He would eventually find his way back past Bellandra later on in the race to come home in 4th. A slight bobble there from Bellandra allowed Jed Beaton to go through. And Thomas Kjær Olsen. And then eventually, Jonas dived down the inside. That's where he made the move on Bellandra. Bellandra would lose another position in the later stages of the race, though, by the hard-charging number 919 on the Khmer Yamaha. Ben Watson caught the South African rider by surprise. He then went after Jonas, but just ran out of time as the Latvian held on to that 4th place. Watson would eventually come home in 5th. Jed Beaton put in a solid performance on the F&H Kawasaki to come home in 3rd. Jonas had his hands full in the dying moments of the race, though, with the Yamaha of Ben Watson continuing to give chase. But it was a win for the Red Bull KTM. Back-to-back wins and the second race win of the qualifying Saturdays for Jorge Prado. Thomas Kjær Olsen came home 2nd for Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. Jed Beaton was 3rd, Jonas 4th, Watson was 5th, Calvin Bellandra was 6th. On what was a very challenging racetrack in MX2 qualifying. Your top 8 then looked like this: Prado, Olsen, Beaton, Jonas, Watson, Bellandra, Chervlin and Van Donning.
Yeah, truck, it's quite weird because it's soft underneath, but it's nice. Yeah, I enjoy the riding. It's getting every time more and more rough, so yeah, enjoying the weekend, and the track is really good after all the rain, so I'm happy with my win, and the track is good for riding.
In the MXGP qualifying, watch this bar banging action over on the far side. Herlings into the 243 of Geiser and Gauthier Paulin. But at the top of the hill, it was Cairoli into an early lead. Herlings was right there behind him in 2nd. The two Monster Energy Yamahas, though, collided as Van Hoorbeek ran into his teammate's back wheel. He picked himself up, went straight back to the work area to get some work carried out on that Yamaha. But it was to no avail. Cairoli led, Herlings was 2nd, Fevre was 3rd, Geiser was 4th. The two Monster Energy Kawasaki's were in 5th and 6th of De Salle and Lieber. That was Van Hoorbeek eventually calling time on the MXGP qualifying race. Seewer was up in 8th place, but then he fell and lost 2 positions, dropped back to 10th. He would eventually come back to 7th on his Wilvo Yamaha. Cairoli had a slight advantage over his teammate, but then lost 3 seconds in 1 lap around about the halfway mark. And Herlings, well, he didn't need a second invitation. He charged down the inside of Cairoli, took over the lead on what was a very grueling circuit. He even bobbled at the bottom of the hill, lost some time. That allowed the Monster Energy Yamaha of Roman Fevre to gain a little bit of time, but not so fortunate down that same part of the racetrack was the 33 Monster Energy Kawasaki of Julian Lieber, who fell from 7th. He would remount in 16th and eventually come home in 14th place. In the closing stages of the qualifying race, all eyes were on Tony Cairoli and Roman Fevre as they battled over 2nd position. Fevre would get close on more than one occasion. Tony Cairoli would open up that door. He had one moment here, though, where he was almost off the back of the bike, almost threw it away on landing as well. He did survive it, though, did the 2:22. The final lap, and Herlings was starting to get caught by Cairoli. Febvre had just fallen off the pace a little bit. Cairoli gave it one last push. The two Red Bull KTMs at the head of the field did enough, though. And it was going to be a second qualifying race win of the year for Jeffrey Herlings. Back-to-back as well. He was victorious in Trentino. His teammate, Tony Cairoli, would come home in second. And the Monster Energy Yamaha of Roman Febvre was third. HRC Honda's Tim Geiser was fourth. The Monster Energy Kawasaki of Clément de Sales came home in fifth. Then the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna of Gauthier Paulin, the Wilvo Yamaha of Jeremy Seewer, and the Boss Project Suzuki of Evgeny Bobryshev.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time on the track. So we had good fun. Start was good, and we followed Tony for a bit because he was running really good lines. Obviously, the track was really bumpy, so it was hard to not make mistakes. But we did what we had to do. I won the qualifier, so looking good for tomorrow, and just hope to put on 2 good stars tomorrow and work from there.